Video today about Necromancer builds. Necromancer is the class I've played the most, so I kind of wanted to show you guys what I've found to be the most successful builds out there for different activities. And I did see that about 95% of you are not subscribed. So if you've watched one of my videos before and you're coming back again, make sure to hit that sub button and that like button, and these will keep coming for you. Getting into the builds. First, I want to talk about kind of like an overworld farming or Elder Rift type build. And there are some variations. I'll show you what I'm currently running. We have Visitant Sign for the first, which gives Command Golem duration. I'm using Ethereal Boundary for the chest because I haven't really found any other good skills to use here. You can use the Bone Wall Dash for more mobility, but I've found having an extra ability for DPS has been more successful. Synods Anointing for an extra skeletal mage. This is pretty crucial because usually for overworld farming, what you're doing is running like back and forth, kind of like one pack to the next, really fast pace. So the extra skeletal mage kind of helps fill in for the times where it might be on cooldown. This one, Pitiless Pace. I would say this is the most crucial part of the build. It lets your Wraith Form become a teleport, and it has a little bit more range than the Wizard teleport, but you get one less charge. All in all, still really good. Helps speed up farming immensely, especially in like Elder Rifts and such where you can hop walls with it. Really speeds it up, gets through different packs if you'd get minion blocked by something you don't want to waste your time with. Desolatoria, this one makes your Molten Golem, and this is quite crucial as well. The DPS on the Molten Golem is crazy. Like this guy, he's like the jack of all trades ability. He gives you good AoE, single target damage, near 100% uptime with the Visitant Sign. So he's always going to be there. His low cooldown AoE slam does insane damage for easy content like overworld farming and Elder Rifts. He can near one-shot packs, especially if you get a crit, which is very easy with Necromancer because of your Shepherd set. And Drifter's Fair. This is kind of the flex slot of my overworld farming build. Right now I'm using the Bone Spirit becomes the Giant Skull, and this is quite good. It does pretty good damage. Since you have two charges, it's up often enough to where you can nearly always have it active. And you can send out two if you're fighting like an Ancient Elite or something, or a boss in an Elder Rift. And the other kind of flexes here. Baleful Trinity, this is good. It makes your auto attack bounce to an extra target. So it kind of does two AoE splashes. It does 30% decrease damage, but that really doesn't matter. The small damage decrease doesn't really affect easy content. And then getting an extra bounce actually increases the damage a lot, especially since if it bounces close to where the first target was, it might splash and hit the whole pack twice, essentially. Beacon of the Lead. This is pretty good too, since the main part of the build is the Molten Golem. So if you wanted to use, say, like the Bone Wall Dash skill for your chest piece, then Beacon of the Lead would kind of help increase your Molten Golem damage, and since you have one less DPS ability. Twin Vestige, this one's pretty good too. You basically have a 25% chance for nothing to happen, or the 25% chance for bone armor, 25% chance for bone spirits, and 25% chance for bone spikes on the mage is kind of what it feels like. Those numbers aren't confirmed, but they seem to make sense based on the results you see. And other than that, there's really not a whole lot of other flex slots. What I change out is Bone Spirits for Corpse Lance. You don't need any modifiers. This skill is great for easy content because typically you're one-shotting like, 70% of the packs, and then you can use the Corpse Lance to kind of clean up the rest, or to jump to the next pack if they're close enough to where you killed the last. And there's one other one I wanted to mention. Command Skeletons. While these are good with like your Shepherd set and kind of like overall DPS, I find the Skeletons to not be that good for open world farming, because they tend to kind of run off to a random pack. They might mess up your circle, or when you're running quickly through everything, you can't really like set something and then teleport away. So typically you'll like teleport. You can set a mage to clean up a pack. Your golem here, he has the low cooldown hop. So typically you would hop to a pack, drop a mage, do the slam on the golem, and then just keep running. And you can use Corpse Lance in between to clean up packs, or if you use the Bone Spirits, then when you teleport on a pack, you can kind of do the whole combo and then keep going. And always make sure to use Treasure Hunter for overworld farming. This will kind of help increase your time worth of doing it, because you're getting extra drops, extra chance at legendary drops essentially. And for sets, for overworld, most of what you use really doesn't matter for your sets, but a 2-piece Isatar is my go-to, especially with Necromancer, where your mobility is a little more limited than other classes. This really helps that a lot. For your gems, just stick with 2 stars at rank 5 for the most magic find, but if you're ever able to get a Blood-Soaked Jade drop, just 2-star, rank 1, I've never even upgraded it, but the 10% movement speed, this helps immensely, especially on Necromancer, but on any class I would use this over a little bit of magic find. So right now you can see I have 50% magic find, because I have 5 2-star gems at rank 5. Which gems you use don't matter typically for this type of build, because the content's very easy. So you're just looking at gems to increase your drop chance and move speed. If you don't have Blood-Soaked Jade, there are some additional options. You can either use another gem just for the magic find, or if you have something like Blessed Pebble or Bottled Hope, I know those can give you move speed as well from buffs. I believe the Hunger, I know it had a bug description, but it kind of has like the Isatar type effect, where when you kill a monster, you get movement speed for a short time. That would be okay as well. And then, with that being a 2-star gem, you'd also get the 10% magic find. And next, let's get into dungeons. So, for dungeons, I'm using a slightly different build. For the skills, you can see I use all the summons and Dark Curse. This is pretty standard. By far the best single target DPS, and it does pretty good AoE as well. This does better than any other class single target. Raids might make you think otherwise, but there currently is a bug where your Necromancer summons don't affect for the Chest of Glory drop. However, if you play Necromancer and you try out this build, compared to any other class, you'll notice a huge increase in your kill speed. And for sure, 4-piece Shepherds is core. You're using all the summons, so it's easy to activate. They deal more damage and give you crit chance. That's amazing. And you'll see I'm not using the 6-piece set. The main reason is I find this to be kind of unreliable, in that it is a good effect, but since it occurs when one of your summons critically hit, it can easily happen where you're killing like a mob pack before the boss, this activates, and then by the time the boss spawns it wore off, and then you kill the boss before it comes off cooldown. So I find it to be kind of like a good effect that's unreliable, so I tend to avoid it. For your 2-piece that you pair with your shepherds, you can use Vithus, which will increase your Dark Curse duration on your summons, or you can use a 2-piece Shell Boss set. And it does sound weird, but the 2-piece Shell Boss does affect your summons' basic attacks. It's kind of weird where some summons it doesn't work, typically like an ability based, so like the Laser Mage. It wouldn't affect that because the game doesn't count that as a primary attack, but your skeletons, the slaps on the golem, and the scythe hit by this guy, this Reaper, those are all affected by the Shell Boss set, so that'll give you a 100% uptime basically on a damage boost, which would be way better than the 6-piece Shepherd, since that's not 100% uptime and a little more unreliable. And you'll see that I use the Reaper. This guy, he does crazy damage, because if you look, his damage per attack for me shows 9,754. Anyone using the Molten Golem knows the Slam does insane damage, and we can see that does less damage than a single basic attack by the Reaper. The Reaper cleaves as well, so anything in its attack radius will all get damage, not just his primary target. And the Mage duration on the Skullveil, this is kind of a key part with the Reaper. Anytime you use the Reaper, you want to use this, since he has a higher cooldown, and you can see if we use Dark Curse, he's affected. And then we'll see when the cooldown comes up. We can Dark Curse it again. You'll see the curse kind of last. The second curse will kind of expire about 1 second before he expires. And that's kind of what's good about this specific setup, is you can spawn 2 Reapers, Dark Curse them, and then right when your Dark Curse is off cooldown, hit them again with the Dark Curse, and it gives you 2 full Maggot duration buffs on the Reapers for one of their lifespans. And if you don't use Skullveil, when you use the Dark Curse on them, they kind of expire about 1 or 2 seconds into the second Dark Curse buff, so it's a pretty big DPS loss. And your chest, this really doesn't matter. I'm not using any abilities that are affected by your chest. However, I usually just keep Cloak of Quills on, because I have experimented with a build where you use the melee summons with bone armor, sometimes replacing like Golem or Mage or skeletons even. And it's interesting using like a mix of curse, or the Maggots curse, and the Quill's bone armor. It really doesn't matter though. If you want, you can test it out as well, but I haven't found as much success with that build as what I'm currently using. Synods Anointing. We're using this again for the Skeletal Mage maximum charge. I find this pairs really well with the Reaper. However, another good option would be the shoulder piece that increases your Dark Curse duration, so it lasts a little bit longer on your summons. That's really good as well, but for a Reaper focused build like this, I've found this piece to kind of work better, since you're more cooldown reliant. Guided by Maggots, of course, the key part makes your Dark Curse frenzy your summons. This is kind of what amplifies your damage a lot, and this is why Beneficial Effect duration is really good on Necromancer, or Bottled Hope is really good. You can see I don't have a Bottled Hope, but if you do, that will increase the summons move speed and attack speed even more. Desolatoria, Molten Golem again, just the passive burning as well as the slam on the Molten Golem are really good for DPS. I don't think I could pick any other main hand weapon for a build like this, so just kind of always use this once you get it. And then of course the Reaper. And that about covers that main build. I do have kind of a second build for activities. This is kind of like a consistent all-around build. Like if you're someone who doesn't care to change up your build much, you kind of just want to use one build for all PvE related activities, I'd say this would be your best bet. You can see it's also a summon with Dark Curse build, but we're using Visitant Sign. Again, the chest doesn't really matter. We're using the Dark Curse duration, guided by Maggots, Desolatoria again, and then for the offhand I'm using Baleful Trinity, which gives your Soulfire that bounce effect. I find this build to kind of give you the best all-around damage in that while you do less total damage or burst damage than the previous build, you kind of have like 100% uptime on all of your damage, because the Golem is, by the time he expires, there's about 1 or 2 seconds left on cooldown, so he's near 100% uptime. The Mage is low cooldown. His duration is about the same as his cooldown. You can even stack them up. You can see 2 Mages now, and you'll kind of always have about 1.5 Mages available. Skeletons, of course, and your Dark Curse. There are a couple other offhand options if you don't like Baleful Trinity. I've tried out Dominance from Dust. I found that the mini golems have a really short duration and do reduce damage, so I didn't like them too much, but I know some others do like those. Beacon of the Lead, this would be good. Just gives your consistent damage a 10% increase essentially. Vesper Guard I really don't like, but if you like it, go ahead, keep using it. To me it just requires too much of a kind of like placement focus, where if you place it wrong, it's really hard to get DPS out of it. And most PvE stuff is easy enough to where I'd rather not have to focus on aiming something right, when I can just use the regular mage and get better results. You could also use Drifter's Fair or Twin Vestige. It doesn't matter a whole lot what you're using for the offhand, but this is just what I found to be the most consistent. Let me know if you guys have any questions about any of these builds. I might be changing my class soon, so stay tuned. I'll post probably a Wizard or Demon Hunter build depending on what I decide to change to. And I hope this helps. Like I said, make sure to subscribe, like my video, comment any other builds or classes you might want to see, and peace!